and then it narrows down here and it's very, very small at the bottom. And this is where Satan is. He's at the center of the earth, at the smallest point. And when we get to the heaven realm, it's just the opposite. Ultimately, Dante's vision of God, it's a singularity. It's a single point from which all of this bright light is emanating, but the point of light is smaller than the smallest star in the sky, and it's brighter than all of the stars combined. That's Dante's image of God. God is this point. It's just a finite point from which all of his goodness emanates. And it's just the exact opposite at the other end of the universe, where Satan is. Satan wants to be God, right? And so God has made Satan the king or the god of his realm, which is just another point that's farthest away from God. And so you see the symmetry in Dante's universe then. But hell is wide at the top. Doesn't Jesus say, the road to perdition is wide and it's a highway, it's broad. And the way to through the heavenly gates, it's narrow and it's tight and it's constricting, and you have to be strong to push the gate open. Isn't that what Jesus said, right? And so here it is. Hey, hell is this big gaping hole and sinners are just falling into it, right? And then there's 9 levels, corkscrew levels of hell that corkscrew down until you get down to the lowest level of Satan then. How do we get off on this? So at the upper levels of Satan, these are sins of, we could say, the sins of the body. Let's say the sins of the body. And down here are sins of the intellect. And so one of Dante's themes is that too much thought is bad, and it can paralyze you into inactivity. So I can still remember when I was learning Italian in New York at Douglaston, in Douglaston, New York. It's really a bad area. The university that I was at, I can't remember what the name of the university was, but it was a language institute, and so they taught all these different languages. There were people learning Spanish there, that seminarians. The diocese would send seminarians there if you were going to spend, if you had a big Hispanic community, you would learn Italian, or you would learn Spanish, and they would send you from Douglaston. You would do an immersion program then in Pueblo, Mexico. And so I was supposed to go because Rockford Diocese has a big Spanish-speaking contingent. I was supposed to go to Douglaston to learn Spanish and then have this immersion program in Mexico, like all the other seminarians from the Rockford Diocese. But then they decided Bishop Dorn wanted to get rid of me, send me to Rome for theology. So then I went to Douglaston to learn Italian. And the university, it had a cement wall. It had to be 10 feet tall, and there was barbed wire coils around the top of it. And there was a guard shack with a gate. There was one, like the toll gate. It came down, there was a guard standing in there, and you had to come in and go out through the guard, and you let the gate up or down. Otherwise you couldn't get, the car was just narrow enough to get, one person could go in and one person come out at a time. You couldn't even get 2 people going about the same way. And the first week I was there, the gang set fire to somebody's car outside on the street. There was a burnt out car smoldering for the whole summer, I swear. It's smoldering the whole summer I was there from these gangs that had burned somebody's car. I don't know if there was a body in it or not, but it just sat there the whole time smoking. It was all charred and everything. And I'll tell you the story of how I escaped from New York and lived for a time. I tell you now. So I didn't want to spend the whole time there. I was missing out on all this stuff. The diocese was having some picnic before all the seminarians went back to their assignments then for the summer. And so I wanted to come back for this picnic. So I asked Monsignor Brodesky, the language program still has 2 weeks to go. Can't I come home are early. I've learned as much Italian as I'm gonna. I don't think I'm gonna learn any more. He's like, yeah, go, come on home. You've been there long. How many? You've been there 8 weeks? Well, 6. He's like, go, well, come on home. Just come for the picnic then. So, so I told the guy, the teacher there, and he's like, nope, you can't. You have to take the final exam, and the final exam's not for another 2 weeks. You can't leave. So, you know, I can't leave. Well, I drove my car out there, and they let me in and out with that gate and everything. Well, during the, this is how I got off on it. Well, on the weekends, we would go into New York, and we would they got this massive public transportation system, and it's like levels, like not just one underground subway, it's like there's multiple levels to their subway systems, like 2 or 3 levels underground of these train systems. And there's this complicated map with all these colors and these letters that are naming the different lines. And I can remember looking at this map and I'm trying to find, like, here's where I want to go, here's where I am, how do I get there? And I was like, I can figure it out. I can figure out which trains I'm going to have to take multiple trains to get there. People would be coming up, I'm looking at the map so long, they're like, ooh, I wonder how I get here. And I'm going, you want to go there? Just get on this line and go to here and you'll be there. If somebody else was asking directions, I was like, I'll just tell them where to go. But when I had to commit to what direction I wanted to take, I wasn't so sure of myself. And that's what Dante's getting at here. He says, too much thought is bad. It can paralyze you into inactivity. And so sometimes what happens with these people in the lower levels of hell is they overthought something, and that turned out to be their demise. And so we'll get there. It's this this upper part of hell where the sins are just sins of the flesh, like lust and gluttony. Those sins, Dante spends very little time with them, and you almost feel sorry for these people that are here. But when you get down to this level of hell, the deeper levels of hell where it's more intellectual sins, then Dante really has no sorrow for them, and he really expands on why those people are there and why they deserve the punishment that they got. So anyway, I had gotten for my birthday that summer when I went out there. Did I tell you this story before? I got this refrigerator. My parents bought me a refrigerator. So when I went away to seminary, you know, they still thought I was going to Mount St. Mary's at the time. I could have something in my room. I could have like cold drinks or whatever. And I took this birthday gift out to Douglaston, New York. So I can remember carrying this refrigerator. It was only about that big, but I had to carry it up like 5 flights of stairs to the dorm. By the time I got up there, like I was ready to pass out and everything. So I wanted to leave early, and so I was gonna load up my car and then drive it out like I was just going into New York, and then, you know, and then leave it outside. I was gonna park it just down the street from that burned out car too. And so I had this one, Matt Gillespie, he's a really big guy. He's a seminarian, but he's really big. And I says, Matt, will you carry my refrigerator down to the car? Like I almost passed out doing it, coming up. It'll be easier going down. Why don't you carry it? He was like, no, I'm not gonna do it for you because they're gonna make you, you're gonna get caught and you're just gonna have to come back and I'm gonna have to move it back for you. I'm not gonna move your refrigerator. I says, come on, I'm not gonna get caught. I'm going. I'm going. He says, no, you're not. He said, you'll get caught. You have to come back. I said, just trust me, man. I'm serious about it. So he carried it down there, and then I drove my car and I parked that's the burnt out car. And then I left at like 2:30 in the morning. I got up and I went past the guard and I waved to the guard at the shack and just walked around the gate, you know. And I was terrified the whole night that what if the gangs burned my car or something like that. It was a 93 Taurus or whatever. And luckily it was there and I drove off. That was my escape from New York story. So I got out by not telling them I was leaving. I just moved out of the room, and then the next morning there was like, the professor's like, where's Randy? Somebody go check his room, and Dan Hanley's like, I don't think he's gonna be there. What do you mean he's not gonna be there? Go check. And he goes, all right. It's empty. There's not even a sheet left on the bed. So, okay. So like just that, okay, once Dante thought that once a line of reasoning starts for you to conduct your life, that to rethink your actions once you've started down a certain path, that would not only be dangerous, but it would be wrong. He says, you gotta commit yourself. you only live one life, and if you have a vocation from God, you're supposed to, and you know if that vocation's from God, you're supposed to run with it. You don't change midstream. If you're married, you don't say, no, I think I want a brunette instead of a blonde. You know, you stick with the blonde all the way through, whatever it is. You can't be changing. That was detrimental. So a lot of the people in hell, they were flip-flopping on things, and that's how they got themselves into trouble. Participation directly in the events of your time. Dante thought that to live is to participate in life, not to be a bump on the log, let other people make decisions for you. You have to be active in your community, helping them to make the best decisions. I look at it like your participation in the Mass, that don't come to Mass and say, well, I'll let the zealots do the responses. I'm just going to sit here. If the choir sings the Gloria, that means I don't have to. I'll just listen to them sing the Gloria. That's why we went to, for the summer, reciting the Glorias, because no one was singing the Gloria when the choir sings it. Everybody's like, well, we'll let them do it. No, you're a Catholic. You're participating in the birth, death, resurrection, and ascension and glory of Jesus Christ. You say the prayers of the Mass because you're participating in the life of Christ when you come to Mass. Don't let somebody else do your Catholic part and not be a part of the Mass, right? That's what the Protestants do. They let, oh, we got a good choir, let's just listen to them sing. I don't want to throw my sour apple juice voice in there. Let's let these beautiful voices sing, and we'll see the glory of God by listening to this beautiful music. And by golly, that guy better have a good homily, or we'll get another pastor next week that will give us a good homily. We want somebody that tickles our ear and tells us how good we are and how we don't have to change. We're on the straight and narrow, and tomorrow if we die, we'll be in heaven. If somebody else tells us different than that, we'll get somebody else that will tell us what we want them to tell us, right? No, Catholic is, you participate in life, and especially when you come to the Mass and you participate in the sacramental life of the Church, you throw yourself fully into it, because God is sending His only begotten Son. So like I said, that Paschal mystery happens at every Mass. The birth, passion, death, resurrection, and ascension and glory happen. And I can show you what parts of the Mass that happens. Okay? If you know the truth, according to Dante, to attempt to conceal the truth from the world, that would be your failure to participate. It would be your failure to contribute to the public good. Right? You gotta be active. You know what the truth is. You don't sit on it. You don't put your light under a bushel basket. You put it on a lampstand so that all in the house can see it. Dante is as Catholic as the Pope. He thinks he's more Catholic than the Pope. And he's getting all of his Catholicism from St. Thomas Aquinas. I said that some people think that Dante Alighieri wrote the Divine Comedy as a tribute to St. Thomas Aquinas. And he actually predicts the canonization of St. Thomas. And so this was unheard of, that somebody, a lay person to begin with, would predict that somebody else would be a saint in heaven. That they, on their own authority, would say, this person was a holy man, and they deserve to be in heaven, they will be in heaven. That's normally something that you would leave to the Holy Father, right? There wasn't this working of two miracles back in Dante's time. It was, if the Holy Father thought that the person was holy, he made them a saint. He had the canonization Mass in St. Peter's and declared this person a saint, and every Catholic believed that because the Holy Father said it. So Dante, in predicting that St. Thomas would become a saint, he dies before the canonization of St. Thomas. That was unheard of. So there's a lot of unheard of things. That's why Dante's Divine Comedy really stands out at this pinnacle of literature, of Western literature. Dante abhorred materialism, religious cynicism, and political opportunism. Religious cynicism, according to Dante, is, how dare the church forgive someone their sins against me, right? And that's something I hear all the time, even today. People get upset that somebody could go to confession, a murderer could go to confession, confess they murdered a person, and the church could give them absolution. the forgiveness of God, and that they could be set out back into the culture. That the church couldn't make the person turn themselves in, but they would give them the absolution of God if they felt that the person was sorry for their sin. How dare that the church forgive a murderer for murdering somebody from my family, especially, right? That's like Dante's religious cynicism. That's what would be that you would, the church would say something is white, and you would say, no, I definitely know that that's black, and I would be contrary to it. That would be religious cynicism. Huh? And God's love structure is eternity. So justice and peace shall kiss, we hear in the scriptures. The saved are in paradise and in purgatory, and the damned are in hell. And so, we have justice and we have injustice in this world, but there isn't going to be justice until the next life. And so the people that are in hell, that is their just punishment. And so the afterlife is reserved for them. But the people that were loving of God and worked according to his justice, then they'll be in purgatory and eventually in heaven. So like I said, there was 3 canticles. Again, that number 3, hell, purgatory, and heaven. And each canticle is made up of 33 cantos. Except hell has 34. So there's 100, we could say 100 chapters to this book. There's 3 sections, part 1, part 2, part 3. Hell, purgatory, heaven. Each section is 33 chapters long, except hell is 34. 33 was the number of years that the Christ was alive. So that number 3, and you double the perfection 2 times, so that's how long Jesus was alive, was 33 years. And so purgatory, where the name of Jesus is praised, and heaven, where it's glorified, is 33 cantos long. And in hell, where the name of Jesus can't be mentioned. That's the one thing that's not allowed in hell, is the name of God. And so that number, the hell's not worthy of the 33, so it gets 34 verses. But there's 100 chapters that we'll go through then. And if we went through these 33 of purgatory, if we went straight through them from Canto 1 to Canto 34, by the time we got to the 34th canto, there would be nobody would be here. You would all have committed suicide yourself. I mean, it's so depressing to go through hell, especially when you get down to the deeper level of hell. You're gonna be like, Father, that's enough. We can't take anymore. So that's, that Father Randy technique of jumping around. We'll do that. So we'll go into hell this week. It's bad, but we'll only go into the upper level next time we meet. Not next Tuesday, but the last Tuesday of September, the 26th or something. We'll go through cantos 4 through 6, and then we'll go back out. We'll go to purgatory, and we'll go to heaven. So we'll bounce back and forth. If we went straight through purgatory, I swear, you would just throw the towel in. It's just so depressing. One time, just to go through, go to your other page. Remember where that politics of Dante's era it was? You see the plan for the Divine Comedy? We'll just kind of go over that a little bit there. So the Inferno, I wrote down where the location is, what cantos it is, and we're in the Inferno for the first 34 cantos. But see, it says Upper Hell, and then the first circle, which is called Limbo, or the antechamber, and then there's the second circle, all the way through the 5th, and then after the 5th circle, there's the gate of Lower Hell, or the city of Dis. And so then on the flip side of your handout, it says Lower Hell. That's the circles 6, 7, 8, and 9. So the last 4 circles of hell are more of those intellectual sins. It's almost the 7 deadly sins, but he really fleshes out the intellectual ones. And so the lower part, the upper part of hell has those sins. If you look there in circle 2, it's this, the deadly sin of lust. Circle 3, it's the gluttonous. Circle 4, it's the greedy. And circle 5 is anger. And at the start of that anger, you start to see, after anger, there's a definite difference. And then for the 6th, 7th, and 8th circles, you have the heretics, the people that do violence, the murderers. And then in the 8th circle, seducers, flatterers, simonists, swindlers, hypocrites, thieves. When you get down to the 9th circle, the lowest level of hell, that's where the treacherous are. And so he divides it into 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections of the treacherous. What's that symbol 5? That's the number of wounds inflicted on Christ's body. So that's what sin does. It inflicts 5 wounds to the body of Christ. And those wounds are each labeled then Cana, which is, it's named after Cain and Abel. So Cain was treacherous to his family member, to his own brother. Antenora, which is a person that was a traitor to his country. Ptolemy, who was a treachery to the guests that he invited to a dinner party. And then, there's only 4. Yeah. Then Judeca, as the lowest. I thought there was 5. But anyway, Judeca, that's the treachery of Judas. And so that's the most sinister of the treacheries. You're treacherous to legitimate superiors. Either the secular authority, which would be the Roman emperor, or the spiritual authority, which would be the Holy Father. And so, why isn't Dante in there? Because he's treacherous to Boniface VIII? Well, because he's the author. And he puts the Pope there instead. But Judas was betrayed our Lord, and so he's the poster boy sinner for the treacherous in Judeca. And then Brutus and Cassius, those are the ones that betrayed Julius Caesar. And so they were supposedly the friends of Caesar that betrayed him, and so they betrayed the secular authority. So that's why they're there. Satan is fascinating. Hell in Dante, it's not hot. And the further down you go, it doesn't get hotter. It's just the opposite. It's cold in hell.